You're listening to the NCF&B podcast. The North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast takes you behind the scenes of North Carolina's food and beverage industry. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NCFB Pod, presented by Food Scene. That's foodseen.com, providing professional photography, social media management, video production, and website design. And now, enjoy the show.
Hello again, and thank you for listening to the NCF&B podcast. I'm your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I'm your co-host, Matthew Weiss. As we continue our day here at Euphoria, Greenville, we step into Louisiana culture, as my mother-in-law would pronounce it, and we have the executive chef of the famed Commander's Palace, Chef Tory McPhail.
Hello, friends. How are you?
Chef, this is an honor having you here, and even though you might be one of the regionally furthest chefs we've had on the show, because typically we're a North Carolina food and beverage podcast, and sometimes we go up to New York, and sometimes we're down in South Carolina.
Yeah, that's not true at all. We've talked to people from California and San Francisco. And
Yeah, that's right. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But aside from that, you have an amazing, probably arguably one of the greatest restaurants in all of the land, and
well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
It's been widely revered by many as a top restaurant, not only in New Orleans but just in the United States. A place that Matt and I both have dined separately. I took my lady there way back before we had kids. I think we said we might have actually created our first child while on our New Orleans trip. And I'm sure she loved that I just said that on the podcast. And Matt, you've been to New Orleans and Commander's Palace as well.
Correct. I don't know if we're making babies. No, our babies came a little later.
It's all those brandy milk punch.
That would be a good baby maker.
It sets the scene for a crazy afternoon.
There's a lot of Commander's babies out, that have been born off of Bananas Foster and brandy milk punch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just checking your bio, have worked there since I think like 2002 or so, right? You've been there for a long time.
So I've been there for a long time, on 3 separate stints now.
Yeah.
And so
you just couldn't get away.
Nah, so I keep trying to break away, but they keep calling me back and saying, come on, man, you got to come cook again.
Godfather.
Yeah. So I've been working there now for 26 years.
Wow.
From the time I was a teenager, Emerald had just left. Jamie Shannon took over as the executive chef, and I was a scared kid out of Farmingtown in Washington State. Ferndale, Washington.
Yeah.
Nothing really happens there except for,
They make great chefs. That's what they do.
That's it. Underage drinking and things like that.
Didn't you basically eat off the farm, the fat of the land, while you were a kid?
Yeah.
Kinda?
So our
or is that just Wagstaff Worldwide making you look even cooler than you are?
So those are amazing ladies. I will definitely tell you that. But yeah, it's been a fantastic ride, and it certainly gives me a great appreciation for where our ingredients come from when you actually grow up and plant them yourself and irrigate them and do what you need to do on the farm,
Yeah.
It gives you a really good down-to-earth kind of experience.
So not being a native of New Orleans, but then soaking it in for the last 26 years, how does one get accepted by their peers from not being of that area? Because the roots of New Orleans are so strong.
Sure. No, I'm not from New Orleans, but damn it, I got there as quick as I could.
Yeah.
So the people in New Orleans, man, they know their food. Like people, if the gumbo's not right that day, they will walk back into the kitchen and say, Tory, what's up? Right?
Wow.
Because they know.
Yeah.
And it's like fighting words. You say, hey, man, my gumbo is better than, your grandmother's. And that's, people take their food very, very, very seriously.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with that.
No, man. So people sit down for brunch and they talk about where they're going to go for dinner. Right? And they sit down for dinner and they say, hey, man, where are we going for lunch? And they make plans and reservations. And it's a very discerning crowd, but very hospitable, very welcoming, very just, I couldn't ask to be in a better city, really.
Yeah.
These people are amazing.
What brought you to New Orleans in the first place?
I took really good advice, and I just wanted to be a chef as quickly as I could. And so I wanted to bust my tail and work for absolutely the best.
Yeah.
And so one of my chef instructors says, look, man, if you're lucky enough to get an interview, try to get into Commander's Palace.
Yeah.
And so I did. That's been 26 years ago, and I've come and gone many, many times.
Yeah, and you started out as like the lowest line prep cook, right?
Man, I started out flipping salads. And making appetizers.
The garde-manger.
And the garde-manger, that's right. That's exactly it.
That's crazy.
Kind of going wacky wild. My first apartment was on Bourbon Street.
Oh.
Me and my buddy Matt, who ended up on the cover of Food and Wine magazine as America's top 10 best new, we decided, hey man, we want to go. We want to move to New Orleans. We were 19, and back then the drinking age was 19, so it worked out perfectly.
Wow.
And we said, hey, look.
But you got into a little bit of trouble back then.
Oh my God. My first apartment on Bourbon Street.
But at least you could literally stumble home.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Within swerving distance on our bicycles.
There you go.
Well, it's pretty obvious why you stayed, because it's a pretty awesome town just in general.
It's a very, very, very cool town.
But you did what many people are struggling with understanding right now. You worked your way up.
Uh-huh.
You didn't just come right out of culinary school and say, I want my chef job now because I have a degree.
Yeah.
You actually got in there and you did the School of Hard Knocks and kept making your way. Because you, as you said, 3 different stints, but one of them, or a few of them, brought you overseas, brought you in the Caribbean, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'd love to know, just to kind of follow your path a little bit. You were at Commanders, but then what was your first destination away from New Orleans?
So I moved to Destin, Florida for a while and really enjoyed myself. But really wanted to be more well-rounded as a chef, so I wanted big hotel experience, and so I moved to Palm Beach and started working at the Breakers Hotel.
Oh yeah,
a gorgeous hotel, and started running one of their restaurants, a seafood bar restaurant, is one of their youngest chefs ever, and really decided, hey, look, I wanted more European experience, but I didn't like studying French. I was just not very good at it, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to move to London instead. And couldn't get a visa. And so I found a very sympathetic chef who actually did the same thing, moving to the United States, married an American girl. And so he says, hey, look, I'm going to welcome you into the L'Escargot kitchen. And I couldn't get a work visa, so I just worked under the table and said, you know what, I wanted to work in a Michelin star restaurant. And so by all means necessary, I'm just going to go. I'm going to do it. And
so did you marry a French girl or something?
No, I didn't. That would have been a good plan. But actually, my wife now, I do what I do for a living. She sells wine for a living.
Oh.
And so it's nice to see beautiful bottles of Bordeaux on the kitchen counter on Friday evening after she tastes out the best restaurants in the city, which is cool.
That is cool.
That's a fun couple to know. I'd like to be neighbors with these guys.
Yeah. I bet you host some good dinner parties as well.
Oh my goodness, yeah. We're just finishing up building a house, and it's in this little neighborhood in the Irish Channel. It's called Bakery Village. It is one city block that used to be the Turnbull Bakery. It started in 1907 and was the first commercially produced ice cream cone in the United States.
Really?
Turnbull Bakery.
Wow.
And so anyway, there's a bunch of home sites there, and so we've got an amazing kitchen being finished today.
There's a lot of firsts being claimed on this show right now. And earlier, Chef Anthony DiBernardo, said that apparently South Carolina makes claim to the first barbecue, the first whole hog barbecue. Who knows if that's actually true or not? Factually correct, fake news.
Port Royal, South Carolina.
But then now we're saying that New Orleans has created the first ice cream cone?
First commercial ice cream cone.
All right.
Turnbull Bakery, 1907.
All right.
Cool.
I want to center this a little bit more and focus this on something that Matt and I were talking about on the drive down, actually, because we love history. We love how culture envelops what food and what ends up becoming. And we were talking about culturally the people of New Orleans. I believe you could kind of broadly say that you have Creole.
Yeah.
You have Cajuns, which were like Acadians or so.
Yeah.
And we were kind of discussing like how all this works out. I would love to know from somebody that's now spent 26 years in and out of New Orleans what the cultural impact is of New Orleans and how that plays into food
And cooking, especially at Commanders.
Yeah. So New Orleans right now, we're celebrating our 300th birthday. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy tricentennial?
Tricentennial, yeah, 1718.
Okay.
And so original folks that inhabited Louisiana were obviously Native Americans, right? And when people started coming over from France and Spain, they populated the city, and you kind of think of like southwestern Louisiana being more Cajun, all right? So true descendants of France, right? They left France for religious freedoms, right? And then sailed over here, cruised up the Mississippi River, settled, and they had their plot of land, and they kind of went back and forth with Spain, and settled the community. And so you kind of think of like Southwest being more Cajun, whereas Creole, the city has more of a refined, more elegant type of cuisine, just based on what they had to eat and ship.
There's this beautiful blend. I mean, it's like, talk about like a melting pot. Like New Orleans just feels like it has the most integrated Americana of any city I could think of.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the only indigenous food to all of North America. It's its own unique thing. And I love going to New York and great restaurants and great places in Los Angeles or wherever, and you have really good authentic Italian food, right? Or you have really good Mexican food. But in New Orleans, all that has blended together.
Yeah.
And
by the way, jazz just kind of popped out of that whole thing too.
Oh my goodness, yeah. The music scene down there is absolutely fantastic. And I think there's so many riffs back and forth between cooking and great music. I get so inspired by going to like Tipitina's and seeing 5 people on stage ripping it, because it's a very naked craft, much like cooking, right? And when those ladies and gentlemen are perfectly in tune and they're nailing it, it's a very naked thing. Anybody could know, whether you happen to be 5 years old or 85. And cooking is the same. When you eat a dish and everything's perfectly balanced and it's hot and it's ice cold, it's pretty special. It really is. So I get very inspired by the combination between food and music.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
What's something you're cooking right now that is making you excied?
We're doing a lot of barbecued hog jowls.
Oh,
really good. And the meat in the hog jowl itself is much more marbled than, say, pork belly. You know, pork belly has the striations in it.
Yes.
Right? This stuff's really good. So that's fantastic.
How do you serve it, or how's it prepared?
So we brine ours for 24 hours, and then we score the skin, and then sear it, and then save all that really good fat that comes off of the hog jowl. And then we cook ours for about 4.5 hours at 225 degrees until the meat's just super tender. You can almost eat it with a plastic spoon, so tender. And then we chill it so we can cut it perfectly. And then even Thursday night, hanging out with our buddy Nick Graves up at Restaurant 17, we do a circulated egg. And so we fire up the immersion circulator at 143 degrees Fahrenheit, and then poach our eggs for 5 hours. And then we crack them out of the shell, and they stay perfectly round, but the inside is turned to pudding. Right, you crack into it, and it just oozes out. So that with like the really smoky, spicy, salty pig fat with some organic stone ground grits, and then we take the sauce is liquefied hog's head cheese.
Wow.
Yeah, so we use the whole head, and so we get the jowls, and then we smoke and barbecue the whole heads, and then cook them down for 3 days to be able to make that good sauce. It's a super rich, super intense, but man, just lovely on the tongue.
Amazing.
See, what I love about the cuisine at Commander's, and New Orleans in general, but let's talk specific Commander's. You guys aren't afraid to cook anything there.
No.
You guys famously have your turtle soup on the menu. It's still on the menu, I take it, right?
Oh my goodness, we serve more turtle soup than anybody else in the United States.
Right, you couldn't take it off the menu.
Oh goodness, no.
Talk about people complaining about your gumbo.
Kitchen, yeah.
That and the bread pudding souffle.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had it when we were there because, when in Rome, that you have to have the turtle soup at Commander's Palace.
Yeah.
And I had it, and I was like, people always say, like, obscure proteins. Oh, it tastes like chicken, tastes like whatever. Yeah. It didn't taste like anything except for a unique new flavor that I hadn't had yet.
Yeah.
But it was delicious. And, my wife, who's very trepidatious about trying turtle soup, took a bite and went, oh my God. I'm like, right? It's delicious.
It's really,
did you have
really
the
good.
turtle soup when you were there?
I did not have the turtle soup. No, we just had like bar snacks and stuff. So,
that's right.
Yeah, and we got a tour I was telling Tory, by Dan Davis, the beverage director, who...
We call him the wine guy.
The wine guy.
Yeah, we're so unpretentious. Just like easygoing, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And total non sequitur, but just random, you worked at the Breakers, who has Master Sommelier Virginia Phillips as the head beverage director there, who was also on that trip, the first annual Ridge Symposium up in your back neck of the woods.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So,
Ridge Winery, right from the San Jose, Santa Clara area.
Yeah,
that's cool.
This portion of the show brought to you by Ridge Winery. Thank you very much.
Sponsoring $0.
Michael Torino out there in Florida. Give us some money.
But actually, this would be a good spot. Well, but speaking about really good wine, like Paul Draper, who was the winemaker there for years and just crushed it at Ridge. One of the first Judgment of Paris California representatives back in 1972, 76.
The Judgment of Paris was 1972.
72, that's right. But Ridge is fantastic, famous, storied, coming from Northern California, just outside of where I grew up. If you want to get wine like that, just go to like Triangle Wine Company and
Yeah.
get some wine. They actually are a sponsor of the podcast. They have 3, soon to be 4 locations in the Triangle area, hence why they're called Triangle Wine Company. And they have an online store. They deliver to your house.
What?
They always have great specials going on. You can order online, go in store. They're in, where are they at, Matt? Where are their locations?
Morrisville, Southern Pines, and Cary, North Carolina, and soon to be Holly Springs.
Matt's neck of the woods. And if you are a fan of the show and you know our super secret code, you can put in NCFB in the promo code online, or just walk in and say, hey, I know the guys from the podcast, and they will give you 10% off all of your purchases. So go to trianglewinecode.com. Tell them Max and Matt of the NCF&B podcast sent you. Tell them that Tory McPhail from Commander's Palace sent you.
Yeah, because that's where he shops for his wine when he's in the Triangle.
When he's in the Triangle. And you'll do well to do it. So go to that. And now back to our regular scheduled programming.
So I want to get back into Commander's Palace, but I also want to understand a little bit more about Cajun and Creole and how they influence cooking and how what would be like a typical idea of Cajun versus Creole influence cooking.
You know, when I first got down to New Orleans in the spring of 1993, I graduated culinary school and thought, all right, cool, my studying is done. I can like hang out and enjoy myself and really enjoy a fantastic city. But I quickly realized that if you really want to make it in New Orleans and really want to be a fantastic chef, now you really need to start to study. And you need to really understand the history of why Cajun and Creole food really kind of came to be.
Yeah.
And I think in broad strokes, as we talk about it, you think of Cajun food as a spicy, salty, historic, very simplified, really good cooking. The folks way back when, they didn't have a whole lot of means. All right, so they had like one big pot or one big cast iron skillet. And so the cooking there was like one skillet cooking.
Yeah.
Whereas New Orleans food is much more refined. It's more, just because it's a port city and we have, so many different influences, those are probably the biggest differences. And even back like before the days of refrigeration, when somebody killed a hog, right, you grabbed all your friends, all your family, and you did a big boucherie. And so in means of preservation, you really needed to have heavy salt, heavy spice, heavy smoke to make sure that hog lasted for a long, long time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in a very simplified manner, and I'm more just understanding it for myself in the head, that the New Orleans, because you're a port city and because there's a little bit more means, you have the access to some greater, more refined food plus cooking technique, but you're still influenced by the Cajun spices and those could we say peasant dishes that were all thrown together in one big pot or skillet.
Sure. I mean, you definitely have the crossing of regional cooking just in that aspect. But if you could blindfold somebody and have them taste a dish, when you taste heavy smoke, salt, spice, that's definitely Cajun food. Whereas New Orleans food, it's sweet, sour, salt, pepper, and bitter is very important in food. People say, man, my sauce is bitter. It kind of works together with it. And a lot of richer, more umami flavor. So our seasoning is powerful. It's really, really big on the palate, but it needs to be very round and very refined.
Yeah.
Whereas Cajun food, it's it blows the taste buds big time, and it's amazing. Yeah. And it makes you crave a beer.
Yeah,
totally.
And really go for it. But
there's also only so much of that you can eat, right? Until you get palate fatigue.
Yeah. Very, very good.
Yeah.
So New Orleans keeps drawing me back because for me it's the intensity of amazing flavor and seasoning that I've not been able to find in any other culture in the United States.
Yeah.
So, talking about real culinary basics, mirepoix, coming from France, is onion, celery, carrot, right?
Correct.
Now, isn't the Holy Trinity created, wasn't that from New Orleans culture originally?
Onion, celery, green bell peppers.
Green bell pepper replaces the carrot.
That's it.
Is the Holy Trinity.
That's exactly right.
And but that comes from New Orleans, right? Isn't that like from the area? And like that was, because the bell peppers were indigenous to the area, and you got that initial like heat and sweetness coming from there.
And that's the foundation for all of our flavor, whether it happens to be turtle soup or gumbo or jambalaya etouffee. Those three ingredients are massive, plus really good spice, lots of garlic, and very focused cooking techniques. Like in culinary school, they'll teach you, hey, look, here's a blonde chicken stock, right? We just like submerge the chicken bones in water and wine and bring it up. Everything we do is very intense heat, and so all of our bones are roasted at 450 degrees.
Wow.
like really big, rich, good flavors. So that in combination with tons of garlic and onions and celery and green bell pepper and all these great local ingredients, that is what really is the fundamental building blocks of our cuisine.
So when you're starting prep the morning of for any day, just a Tuesday or whatever, I don't know, maybe you're not open on a Tuesday, but when do you start making your roux for your gumbo, and how long does it take to get to that perfect golden brown?
Yeah, so it takes a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Right? And so typically if you're going to make it at home, what are you really making? You're making like 2 cups, right? A cup of flour, a cup of oil, and then you cook it down real quick. I would tell the folks at home, preheat your pan, right? Get it like crazy hot, but put a tablespoon of the oil in it and let the smoke that comes off the pan be your judge of temperature. Okay?
Like if the fire alarm, if the smoke alarm's going off, then you're ready.
Almost.
It's almost ready.
Almost.
That's awesome.
Make sure you have your glass of wine full, right? And
for you.
And close to you.
Yeah.
Because once you start the roux, don't leave the stove.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Right. You got to watch that thing the whole time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So at Commanders we use like 5 gallons of oil, right? Which sounds like
5 gallons.
Sounds crazy.
But you're doing like 400 covers a day, though.
It's
more.
Because you pump out lunch too.
It's a busy little neighborhood restaurant.
Yeah.
It's more. It's like 500-600 covers.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. How much money do you make? No,
it's a huge restaurant, and you do 2 full service. I mean,
yeah, we're
and brunch on Sundays.
So we're open 7 days a week, 2 shows daily.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so you're making 5 gallons of screaming hot oil and flour.
Yeah, so you're bringing it up on the stove, okay, until it's like smoking hot, and then we pull the flour up, and then we start adding the flour into it. We roll our sleeves down and grab a long whisk and start adding in the flour.
Sleeves down to not burn the hair off your arms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is hot,
Yeah.
man. It's crazy hot. And so you're sitting there just sweating. Whatever you did the night before.
Which is also part of the gumbo secrets.
That's the whole experience,
Cajun
right?
recipe.
Yeah.
So for the folks at home that happen to be making large batch gumbo, so the secret is to bring up the bring up the oil on the stove, add your flour, and then preheat your oven to 350, and then throw everything in the oven. Right.
Okay.
That way you can go to prepping other things.
You're keeping it at temp. You're keeping it at 350 roughly.
And you cook it low and slow in the oven.
Okay.
Okay, so it gets much more of a nutty, brown, rich, full-flavored experience.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, you just don't want to be sitting there for an hour trying to make your roux. You know, we need to be opening the restaurant and getting it going.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right? You can't just devote a guy to do that all day long.
I mean, we have an amazing saucier.
Yeah.
But it's a busy little restaurant. So my first guy gets in at about 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and then my last sous chef gets out about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. So really the building's only locked for a couple of hours.
And then between that time, all the ghosts from the cemetery right next door get to inhabit and eat and everything.
It's pretty spooky.
Yeah.
It really is, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
That whole area is beautiful because that's the Garden District, is that right?
It's gorgeous.
The original Manning household is like down the block, right?
That's it.
Where
That's
Peyton
right.
and Eli grew up, and the brother that no one talks about.
But he's a money manager and takes care of the boys.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I think everybody's doing all right for themselves.
They're
Don't you
doing
think?
okay, except for the Giants can't win a game. But that's rather here nor there.
What brings you to South Carolina, Greenville, Euphoria specifically?
Man, I'll tell you, I'm having such a great time. You know, for those folks that have not been here before, good Lord, y'all have an amazing experience here. And I've been here a couple times for fall for Greenville.
Okay.
But I haven't been here in like 10 years. Man, what a change that I've experienced in this last couple of days.
There's
It's
a lot
amazing.
of enthusiasm out here.
And everybody's so kind and so nice and so down to earth. And the food, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm actually here taking a quick break. We just opened a restaurant 13 days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Picnic, Provisions, and Whiskey.
Oh.
And when I'm not running really good restaurants, I like to be outside with a paddleboard and the girl and, on the bayou doing my deal.
Yeah.
And so this is all like smart food meant to be eaten with your hands and outside. And so we've got like the world's best fried chicken.
Nice. So you could have a leg in one hand and the paddleboard in the other, or the paddle in the other?
So the cool thing is you can call me up.
Yeah.
And you can say, hey, Tory, man, I want you to drop off my picnic. And so we've got picnic baskets, and we box up your fried chicken and wild shrimp. And these days we've got bluefin tuna and jumbo lump crab, bottle of champagne, and 2 Sazeracs. And we'll go out there, we'll shake out your picnic blanket because we're taking delivery service to the next level of hospitality. And we'll shake out your picnic blanket. We'll set you up with your bottles of champagne and your cocktails, and let you have your picnic on the side of Bayou St. John in New Orleans, and just enjoy it.
Oh my God!
We need that. I could see that being super successful right on Jordan Lake. Because there's a lot of people paddleboarding there. And
it's going to be super successful in New Orleans. That's amazing. It's 13 days in. How's it going so far?
It's going great, man. I'll tell you what.
Well, you were able to leave and come to Euphoria 13 days after you opened.
It's been about a year and a half planning.
Yeah.
But it's been great. The staff is amazing. My chef there, Kevin, he's a tremendous guy, and we're doing a lot of really good stuff.
Now, is this connected to Commander's Palace, or is this your own endeavor?
It's our own endeavor.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But it's nice to be able to have, we have Sobu downtown in the W Hotel in the French Quarter, and so our chef there, Juan Carlos Gonzalez, is joining me this weekend. And so we're ripping a bunch of cool food, and then fly back to New Orleans tomorrow and start frying chicken again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. It's really good.
So I got to ask you, you've done it all. Seriously, you've written books, you've been on television shows, you've won a James Beard Award. Now you've got this picnic and provisions. Is that kind of the thing that motivates you? It's like, what little cool projects can I open and kind of have as my own thing next?
For me, I guess what makes me sleep better at night, it's not about me. It's about taking care of other people. Mm-hmm. And to be able to provide a better lifestyle for other folks, to me that's going to be like the feather in my cap as I get older. And so even this little picnic project, we are sending people to culinary school and giving people scholarships to really launch their career.
Oh, wow.
And I really feel like giving back to the community and then taking care of others is kind of my focus these days.
Plug that. So how does an aspiring chef get involved in that program?
So we want to use Picnic as a launching pad, right? We want kids out of the neighborhood or people come to New Orleans, man, they start working at Picnic, and then we send them to a brand new culinary school. We're going to open in January, and it's called Gnocchi, and it's in downtown New Orleans, and we've just hired our chef, our dean instructor, and we're going to start taking our first class of folks in January 2019. And so we really want to take care of the community and teach people really how to cook. And with a great town like New Orleans, we have Delgado, which is a good cooking school. There's John Folse's cooking school down. It's called Nichols University down in Thibodeau. But we really want to do something for future generations here. So we want to teach them how to cook and let them grow up in fantastic restaurants and really take New Orleans to the next level.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
That's really cool.
We've got to get out there to New Orleans.
We got
Come on, gentlemen.
So I would be remiss if I didn't ask, and my dad would be mad. My dad is a huge fan of going to New Orleans, and he's really happy every time the American Heart Association has their meetings there because then he can go eat. But he maintains...
He's a cardiologist. That's why.
That's cool.
He maintains that... you go to Felix's and you stand at the bar and you hand the guy a fin, he calls it. He's, like he's a 1920s gangster. I'm sure if you give him a fin these days, they slap you. But
what is that, like a 20?
$5.
Okay.
$5.
Could we adjust the fin to modern day standards?
Yeah. Which exactly. But he still gives him a fin and wonder why they give him the finger. But he says you just stand at the bar, tip the guy what you think is appropriate, and he's like, they shuck the best oysters and it tastes like nothing else.
It's awesome.
Would you agree with that, or is there other places that?
No, I think it's really cool, and it happens to be right across the street from Acme.
Yeah.
Right, which is a bit of a different experience because you sit down and it's got the red and white tablecloths and all that good stuff. But Felix's is cool because you could go there, get your fill on really good oysters in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 10 minutes or an hour, whatever y'all want to do.
Depending on how many fins you have in your pocket.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the original fast food from, 80 years ago?
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that.
Just the shuck the oyster and boom.
It's pretty cool.
What is that indigenous oyster down in New Orleans? It's huge. It's like, what is that called? I can't remember.
So those would be, in my book, those would be cooking oysters.
Yeah.
Right? So you can barbecue them on the half shell, and they're delicious and dynamite.
Yeah.
I try to give the guy a fin, okay, or a 20, and say, look, man, I really want the medium-sized ones. I don't want like a big like gagger that looks like the tongue of your shoe.
Because they're better for cooking and seasoning.
I just don't want to like gag halfway down.
It's too much.
That. Yeah, it's just too much, man.
Yeah.
But we have damn good oysters. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Seriously.
Really, really good.
Thank you so much. We'll tell Dan Davis I say hello.
I certainly will.
See him next time. And well, everybody, when you are in New Orleans, go to Commander's Palace and you will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.